Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I am surrounded by my clouds today from WD because they've sponsored this video asking me to do a quick explainer about how all these products differ from each other. So we're going to talk about the consumer products here, as well as how their new EX and DL series differentiate each other because they look the same both physically and on paper, but there are some differences which I'll get to in a minute. I do want to start though with the consumer devices. We've got the single drive MyCloud here. What you do with this, of course, is plug it into your network, not into your computer, and everyone on your network and people that you allow from outside your network can share files with you, upload photos, do all the things that you would do with a cloud service you can do with something like this. It starts at about $150 for a 2 terabyte unit. It goes up to 6 terabytes, so you have some storage options there available to you, and it works very well. It doesn't have all the features that these more powerful devices do, but for basic file sharing and other things, this works very well. On the consumer side also, though, you have a more powerful version called the Mirror, and it's a little bit faster from a data transfer standpoint, but it also has dual drives, so you have some redundancy built in. So if something happens to one of the hard drives, you can basically take the bad one out, put in a fresh drive, and everything pretty much stays operating without any downtime at all. You certainly want to keep a backup of all of these, even the dual and 4 drive units, and there's means to do that through their USB ports, but these will give you a little bit more added peace of mind over the single drive unit. You can also install applications on this unit, which you can't do on the single drive. So you can run the Plex media server, for example, on the Mirror, but you can't run it on the single drive. So there's some differences there. A little bit more powerful. I definitely recommend going with a 2 drive unit if you can afford it, and the reason is that it does give you that added peace of mind of some data redundancy. So that's often an important thing to have. If you're not really sure about how all this works or how might it fit into what your home needs, I've got a video up above where I explain network attached storage in a very simple manner so you can kind of get a feel for whether or not this is something that will work for you in your home. Now, if you're a creative professional or just somebody that takes a lot of photos and video and really want to move those large files across your network quickly and maybe only have 1 or 2 other people doing the same thing along with you, then I would look at the Expert series. So this is this one, the 2100 and the EX4100, and these are running with a faster processor than the consumer versions have. So you're going to see a much better network performance when you just have a couple of users doing that activity, moving those files in and out. They also have more memory. So this has a gigabyte of RAM. This one has 2 gigabytes of RAM. So that gives you a little bit more leeway to run things like the Plex server and maybe just be able to do a couple of other applications that you might want to run on one of these devices. So it gives you some extra space to do that with. And additionally, on the back, you have 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, and this allows you to do something called link aggregation if your network switch supports that, and a lot of them do now. And what you can do is basically bind these 2 gigabit Ethernet connectors together and get an effective 2 gigabits in and out of the device, so you have even more bandwidth available to you, especially if you have some other folks hitting it at the same time. But if you really start adding a lot of users, then that's why you might want to look at the DL line. So for a single user kind of hitting this device on a network, you're not going to see much of a difference between the DL and the EX on either of these versions. But when you start getting into more users or loading in more applications or things that are more processor intensive, then you move up to the DL line because these are powered by Intel chips. Now, they're not the Xeon server chips by any stretch, but they are a little bit more capable than the ARM processors are on the EX line. And what's nice about these two is that you're able to upgrade the memory on them. So they have the same amount of RAM as their EX counterparts. So the 2 drive unit comes with a gigabyte of RAM, and the 4100 here has 2 gigabytes. But the reason why I just took the case off of this one is that you have the ability to slide in additional memory into these devices. So you can upgrade the 2 drive unit to 5 gigabytes and the 4 drive unit to 6 gigabytes. So if you're doing things like adding a lot of users to the mix or having a lot of people running applications at the same time, basically you're adding the ability to accommodate more of what you might want to do with this device with more people. So the big difference here between the EX and the DL is the processor and the ability to upgrade the memory. So if you're in an office environment with lots of people hitting it, then the DL is the better choice. If you're in a smaller environment, or maybe if it's just you, then the EX is going to be perfectly fine for that application. So it's just when you're adding more people does it get more complicated. So in a future video, I'm going to be taking a look at the differences between choosing a 2 drive unit over a 4 drive unit, so you can kind of get the idea of what benefits you might get from stepping up to a quad bay device versus a 2. And we'll have some other things coming up as well. And if you have things that you'd like to see, please leave them in the comments below. This is Lon.TV, and I thank WD for sponsoring this video. Thanks for watching.